Hey everyone, this is Levi with Panels here, and I wanted to actually talk a little bit about this image. Oops, there it is. So this has been making the rounds by Shad, I believe. So what we're looking at here is an AI generated image. I think it's kind of been rightly critiqued, and the purpose of this is not to completely, to dunk on this, although I'm not a fan of AI and I'm not particularly a fan of this image, but to try to see how you would maybe approach this from a traditional perspective, right? So, yeah, let's ask ourselves as traditional artists, how would we draw a picture like this? Right away, say we got the assignment was we need a girl with a frankly massive sword that looks a bit bigger than her entire body, kind of an anime girl looks like, cutting off the head of a dragon or a monster or some kind of scaly creature, right? We want to show this at the moment that it happens. So, if someone brought me this image, I would say right away I have some kind of critiques, and it actually helps to zoom down and kind of squint and look at what's going on here, right? The first thing that I see in this image, even if you're doing a very exaggerated kind of cartoony image, this is a very silly pose for what's actually happening. Her legs are, going all sorts of different directions. Her head is way back, and it's attempting to communicate movement. But if if you swung at something, no matter how sharp your sword, with this kind of thing, it does not communicate power. I guess you could say it kind of communicates something kind of. It's kind of unintentionally hilarious, I guess you could say. But the line of action that's happening here, the way this leg is sticking out, and kind of the disconnection from the environment, the characters. I would say let's send this back and kind of work. The first thing that I would work on is the pose here, and then the composition. Let's start there. So let's ask this. This is my exercise for myself. How would I draw this image? Could I improve on it, or is the use of AI doing something here that is beyond a traditional approach to this? So let's give this a shot. Okay, so when I'm approaching a drawing, kind of the first thing I do is pull out my sketchbook. And I actually prefer, I know some people like to work on like an iPad or a stylus or something like that, but really there's nothing better for me than just using a pencil to try to just mess around and kind of find shapes. And it's so loose, it's so ugly, that it really helps you just to kind of look for that, like those lines. You can see this is super bad. So I think that's actually one of the interesting things about the creative process with AI is that it doesn't seem to have this loose state. And so you're immediately getting distracted by details, which is what you don't want to when you start drawing. You want to first kind of find the energy of what you're going for. So, when I started to kind of approach this, I just do these little thumbnails, these little sketches, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is something that communicates, the action of the moment? If we're going to be drawing, someone cutting off the head, that takes a lot of strength, right? That's going to take a lot of like balled up energy being released in this one stroke. So you wouldn't have limbs kind of flaying all over the place, because that's not the kind of stroke that would take a head off. You're going to have everything kind of focused into one movement, right? And it should communicate strength. So I thought, okay, well, what's a stance? What's a way that we could kind of frame this in a, kind of an interesting thing? So say if the line of action is moving like this, would a powerful pose be someone standing, with, their feet kind of moving in this? So this here what you have when I'm trying to kind of communicate here is a stronger pose where the legs are still apart, but the body is focused, kind of in a motion, right? Didn't like this one because it looked a little too static to me with the leg out like that, so no good. Also, I wasn't sure if the sideways view was going to be good enough. You can see me kind of thumbnailing this a little bit here. Here was one where I was like, okay, well, what if they're facing the person and we see, we get a good view of the face here, and we could kind of follow the line here. This one was the most interesting, just kind of rough sketches, so I kind of continued on. Came here, this is where things start kind of, usually when I find what I'm sketching, like my first stuff is crap. And then certain things start to kind of jump out at me if I keep on going. So this pose I actually liked because I thought, okay, now we could, if I'm drawing this looks powerful, but the body has a lot of motion to it, right? So what I'm finding here is there's lines of motion, that kind of come together, but it doesn't look totally out of control. If we have, say the elbows here, kind of, joined back, and the hilt of the sword could be here, something along those lines. Then now we're talking about something that looks like, there's the arc of the cut would be something like here. That was the other thing that bugged me about the AI drawing is the sword was totally flat, and the arc was totally flat. So it was just like it didn't work for me. And the other thing too is we could kind of frame the figure. So the figure, the face could be here. We could kind of frame the figure, and you could put the head down here. I would not choose if I had my if I was to pick the perfect moment to illustrate, if I was to do this, I would not actually draw the moment when the head was coming off, because I think that's the moment, that's the peak. I think a better moment, and you see a lot of artists pick this, is the moment before, right? It's the moment of when they're either preparing to make this, so it creates tension. This is kind of releasing all of the tension, even though it's supposed to be like kind of an epic shot. I would not choose this. But it was interesting to figure out how I would draw something like this. It's definitely, blood and gore, not my thing. But it was an interesting exercise. So I could see, where you could start framing the character in the body here. You could create a strong cut here, and maybe even have the head here, which I'd still have to design the head. So that was kind of where I settled on the pose, and then we'll kind of go from there. kind of, with some of these sketches here, kind of mapped out a plan of action, I guess you could say. So as you can see, I'm using like a super, super dull pencil. I don't know if that can focus in or not, but it's like barely sharp and kind of deliberately. So I've even played a little bit with ink, try to, kind of define some of the stuff, but I'm feeling like this is close enough to where I can actually start doing something closer to an actual rendering on this. I already got ink on my fingers. So so I'm starting to work towards that. We'll see how this comes together, if anything interesting happens. So I'm liking this, where this is going. I'll probably ink this tonight. So the things I've changed here are that obviously I'm not showing the head. I think for me, like the really important parts about like a good drawing are like the focus of that, and it seems like this is a lot of things that kind of more junior artists will struggle with. But to me, it's all about like kind of like energy, and then like the focus, and kind of like what's the point of this one picture? Like what's the most important part? The most like to me, when I look at the original picture, the head is a major distraction. It's goofy looking, the tongue sticking out. The important part is she's cut right through this thing. Whatever's attacking her. And so the other things, I like this pose a lot too. It took me a little bit of work because it looks purposeful, right? She looks focused. She looks like she's putting all her energy into this movement. There's like a through line, kind of an arc that's going here, and it kind of matches with it. She's more surrounded, right? So they're interacting with each other. She's kind of moving forward, but also putting all her strength into this one kind of stroke, right? She's not like, her face isn't going like blah, kind of like in the original one, but she's looking at where she's trying to hit. She's focused on that, and like kind of her whole body is in this arc of movement. So, I'm not very good either as an artist, but this works. This, to me, I look at this and this, like, there's intent here. There's like the elements are working together. There's movement. And the focus is her. The focus of this drawing for me is her. Okay, so thanks for watching. If you have watched this whole thing, um, the point, the reason I made this was not to try to dunk on, people who are using AI, or it, really, I thought it would be interesting to show the process that you go through when you're drawing a picture, as opposed to a lot of the people. There's such a human and intuitive process that happens when you try to draw a picture, when you try to tackle a subject. So the end result for me is not perfect. I definitely see flaws with it, but it's a process, right? Every time I approach a drawing, it's something where I'm always hitting the limits of what I can do. I have something in my head that is kind of better than what ends up on the page. And sometimes exciting things happen, that things come out better than I had in my head. And that's kind of that beautiful interaction of physical media, where your muscles, the training in your muscles, sometimes it works out well, and sometimes they're not capable of achieving what you set out to do. So you have to keep trying and practicing again and again. I mean, that's just the beauty of kind of drawing, I think, is that it every time something new happens, and it's the process. It's that process of creating an image, drawing a picture that you can do again and again, and it's exciting and fun every single time. So this is just a peek into my process. I think everyone it's slightly different. I hope it was enjoyable to see, but yeah, thanks for watching if you've watched, and keep drawing.